What's up, everybody? Sorry it's been so long since my last video. Truthfully, I had some content in mind a couple months ago, and then I scrapped it. I decided to change up my style a little bit, and I hope that you will enjoy both the content and the way I produce it. Let's not waste time, because kids need saving and protecting. The wicked flee when no man pursueth, but the righteous are bold as a lion. So we're nearly 2 weeks into what the LGBTQ crowd calls Pride Month. In light of that, let me briefly read some interesting quotes from a research article titled Drag Pedagogy, the Playful Practice of Queer Imagination in Early Childhood. Now this is by Harper Keenan and Lil Miss Hot Mess, published in January 2021. Drawing on the work of Jose Esteban Munoz, the authors discuss 5 interrelated elements of DQSH. For those who don't know, that stands for Drag Queen Story Hour, that offer early childhood educators a way into a sense of queer imagination. Play as praxis, aesthetic transformation, strategic defiance. Just what or who are they wanting them to defy? That's the question that we should be asking. Destigmatization of shame. So they don't want children to feel ashamed of drag queen praxis, dressing as drag queens, reading about drag queens, studying about drag queens. Stigmatization is a good thing, depending on what the stigma is placed upon, what the object or subject is that is being stigmatized. And I'll tell you, perversion should remain stigmatized, folks. And embodied kinship. Next quote. Drag queens have historically been relegated to the realm of the night. And for good reason, right? Drag queens belong in adult-only venues. I hope you all agree with that, because drag queen performances are intentionally, almost 100% of the time, sexualized. The men are generally dressed in something that's sexually provocative. Even if they wear a long dress that goes down to their ankles, it's meant to draw attention. Usually they have a V cut that shows their fake boobs that they're wearing, or they'll have a see-through, like, lacy thing on the side or whatever. It almost always showing like side boob, or sometimes they're wearing see-through dresses where you can see the thongs that they're wearing underneath. They intentionally do this to draw attention to the sexual nature of the attire. Drag queens belong in adult-only venues, folks. Let me finish the quote. In the past few years, however, drag performers have made their way from the dimly lit bars of gayborhoods. That's their word, not mine. It's funny because it's a stupid word, in my opinion. They tried to be clever with it, but it's just ridiculous. And in the fluorescent lights of libraries and classrooms. Yes. They want to pull the drag queens of the night into the light. Why is that? They know, deep down, every person knows that drag performances are meant to stay in adult-only places. Adult nightclubs, bars, places where children do not belong. Children should never set foot inside those places. So they want to bring these perverted performances in front of kids and call it family-friendly, because they are deep down ashamed, knowing that those things do not belong in the day. They don't belong in the light. They should remain in the dark. People should remain ashamed to do those things in front of kids. Next quote. Through this program, drag artists have channeled their penchant for playfully reading each other to filth. All right. So again, this program, this paper is talking about Drag Queen Story Hour. They are channeling their penchant for playfully reading each other to filth. Who else are they trying to read to filth when they're bringing it to kids in libraries and classrooms? So they read each other to filth into different forms of literacy, promoting storytelling as integral to queer and trans communities, as well as positioning queer and trans cultural forms as valuable components of early childhood education. So they're saying it's essential to teach kids this stuff. It's valuable. We have to teach this. It's good for them. Next quote. We argue that the program creates a pathway into the imaginative, messy, and rule-breaking aspects of drag for children without necessarily watering down queer culture. I don't know what they mean by messy exactly. And rule-breaking aspects. See, there it is. Remember, earlier on I read a quote about strategic defiance. They're trying to teach kids to be defiant and to break rules. What rules are they trying to teach them to break exactly? Some of you might suspect what they're getting to, because we know where the slippery slope ends, folks. At least we think we do. Next quote. At many events, organizers invite kids to create their own drag name or study feminist icons using DQSH's self-published Dragtivity book. That's as bad as the gayborhood word. So yeah, let me repeat just a little bit of that. So they invite kids at most of these events, or many of these events, their quote, to create their own drag name. See, often you'll see these straw man arguments online where people who are LGBTQ, etc. folks and allies, they'll post like a meme or something saying, "You've been entertained by drag your entire life," and they'll show these photos of men dressed as women from movies. Of course, Mrs. Doubtfire is a big one. Some Like It Hot, that's an older one, of course. They'll post that and say, "You've been entertained by drag even when you were younger." But I don't recall any of those movies ever trying to encourage kids to have their own drag names, or trying to teach kids that, "Hey kids, you can be just like me. Little Miss Hot Mess. You want to be like me, young man? You can be a girl if you want." Everybody knows it's different. So they'll try to mislead you and come up with these stupid arguments with those memes, because that's all they have. Next quote. Many elements of DQSH are common to early childhood schooling. Bright colors, music, art, and imaginative play. All right, stop there. So the stupidity of that one sentence kind of astounds me, because they're trying to say, because there are lots of bright colors and music and art and imagination that drag queens have, and also kids have bright colors, music, art, and imagination, because they have the same elements, that means we should combine them. Well, I'll tell you what has the same elements, folks. Shooting an animal while hunting involves having a loaded firearm and aiming it at an animal. Shooting an animal in cruelty also involves having a loaded firearm and aiming it at an animal. Shooting a pet, someone's pet. Those involve the same elements. One is moral, hunting. One is immoral, killing an animal in cruelty. That's cruel. That's evil. Next part of the quote. There is an adult teacher leading a classroom of young students. What is different, though, is that the teacher is a drag queen. She breaks the limiting stereotype of a teacher. What kind of stereotype is... What kind of limiting stereotype do teachers have? Like, are teachers' hands tied to where they're not already giving so much imagination to children, like helping them multiply their own imagination? Teachers are already gifted at doing that stuff. Why do they need to dress like... Why do men need to dress like women, or women dress like men, to teach kids? Like, it's unnecessary. She breaks the limiting stereotype of a teacher. She is loud, extravagant, and playful. She encourages children to think for themselves. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. So, are they trying to make the point that teachers who don't dress like drag, they don't dress in drag, they're not teaching children to think for themselves? Oh, and here goes that rule breaking again. The last part of the quote says, and even to break the rules. That's third quote. where it mentions talking about rule breaking and defiance. If you haven't noticed, there is a central message to these quotes that I'm pulling from the article. They seem to be saying, we know that drag performances belong at adults-only venues because they're perverted. But we want to force all of society to accept them as family-friendly. Why do we want to do that? Because we don't like feeling ashamed of these performances. We don't like feeling ashamed of doing them and going to them. And it doesn't matter how many children we pervert, we confuse in the process, we are willing to sacrifice their innocency for the sake of not feeling ashamed of ourselves. Now, another theme is because a good bit of these performers and people who attend them are communists, they want to turn society's kids into little rebellious activists. They want to turn them against their parents. They want to turn them against their pastors and teachers. They want to turn them against law enforcement. They want children to see white people, men, clergy as the enemy. They want to see the Constitution as the enemy. They want children to think of the Judeo-Christian, the nuclear family, and constitutional values as something to be dismantled. And that's why they want to teach kids to be defiant. And they are using drag performances as a vehicle to do this. Now that you understand a little bit about their motivations, thanks to this article, it makes more sense as to why they fight so hard. If we ever hope to keep our constitutional republic and to preserve the innocence of our children, then we better fight back even harder. I'm not talking about physical violence. I'm not talking about threats or harassments. I'm talking about putting our words into action through protests, through calling and emailing to voice our disapproval against people who are doing these things or bringing kids to these things, against businesses, people who donate to these type of events, by becoming citizen journalists and capturing evidence that these things are happening. Speaking of which, here is a clip from my initial failed, unfortunately, attempt at infiltrating one of such events.
I saw someone grab it, and I was like, I'm Is there anything I can't have eyes on? Is there anything we do to help you besides spending money?
Yeah, of course, buddy. Even if you just let me know and I'll come get you if your mom's basically later. Got it? All right.
Hey man, is your name Ron?
Oh no!
Yeah, please don't take any pictures if you're gonna go in. No, okay. Okay. That's it. What?
So this event took place back in March. The guy whose voice you heard is a man named Zach Morton, who pretends to be a Christian pastor by day. The only reason he stopped me was because that woman in the video, who thinks she's a transgender person, ratted me out. She goes by the name Ash Orr, or formerly Ash Cutright. She's a liberal activist that others in West Virginia probably know about better than I. You can look back and see that she was a strong opponent of House Bill 2007, which was the bill intended to ban all chemical and surgical mutilation of children in the state of West Virginia. You should know, kids were definitely at this event that I attended. Now, as it turns out, I didn't even need to gather this inside information, this inside evidence, because people in West Virginia, this so-called red state, are so emboldened to do this that they went ahead and posted the pictures themselves. Here's the evidence here. Gross. perverted, inappropriate. What is the intent of teaching kids to give dollar bills to these men? Everybody knows what that's connected to. Okay, that's enough about that. If you want the perverting of kids to stop in West Virginia and nationally, then I am asking you all to please join me. Those of you who are believers, join me, please, in praying that the groomers, the sexual deviants that are targeting children, they get exposed. Pray with me that God moves on the hearts of lawmakers and other influential people in this nation to help us put a stop to this. I don't have a whole lot of power and influence by myself, but I have a God who owns cattle on 1,000 hills. The creator of heaven and earth. He created every single one of us. He created those innocent children. Those that are alive right now, as we speak, who are being confused by hundreds of adults, thousands of adults who know better. Those of you who are bringing children to these events, those of you who are doing these performances in front of kids, this goes out to you. This next statement. I believe that a great many of you know deep down that what you are doing is wrong. It's not too late for you to repent of your deeds. It's not too late. There is hope for you. You have a chance to turn around and stop doing this to kids and admit your wrongdoing. Be the adults. Be the men and women that God created you to be. If you want to do your performances, if you can't help it, and you love to go to these things, by all means, go do it in a nightclub. Go do it where there are no children present. Go somewhere where the signs are emboldened that say 21 plus or 18 plus. No children allowed. I implore you to do the right thing in this aspect. If you were to stop doing these things in front of kids and you were to admit you're wrong, people like me would at least give you credit and say, hey, good job. And then if you would turn around even more and join us in exposing the others who continue to do it, hey, you might get even more commendations. Feels good to be commended, right? I guarantee you it feels much better than the happy feeling you're getting when little kids are tipping you dollar bills that you know you shouldn't be receiving from. All right, now I'm speaking back to my regular audience. Let us all pray that everybody who is involved in these performances and taking kids to them, let us pray that they see the error of their wrongdoing and that they turn to the glorious gospel of Jesus Christ. Let's always remember that Jesus died for everybody, including those who are doing this to kids, those who are perverting children. Doesn't matter how strongly we disagree with people, they deserve to be saved. They deserve to hear the truth. The battle for innocence and for the safety of children is a constant one, and we can win this by the grace of God. So just remember, be bold as lions.